am presenting Union Gospel Press's Sunday School Lesson number 9, Sunday, April 30th, 2023. The lesson is entitled The Light of the World. Lesson text comes from John chapter 8, verses 12 through 20, and John chapter 12, verses 44 through 46. Related scriptures are Isaiah 9, 2 through 6, Matthew 5, 14 through 16, John 1, 1 through 10, and 1 John 5, 5 through 13. The place is Jerusalem. The time is 29 and 30 A.D. Last week's lesson looked at Jesus as the bread of life that every person needs. In this week's text, we find Jesus proclaiming himself to be the light of the world. Today's aim, facts. To examine passages in which Jesus proclaims himself to be the light of the world. Principle, to show that Jesus is indeed the light of the world. Application, to challenge believers to walk in Jesus' light. Illustrating the lesson. Jesus is the light of the world. A candle glowing in the darkness illustrates this triumphant announcement. Practical points. 1. When we have adequate light, whether we are speaking of physical light or spiritual light, we neither stumble nor fall. John 8:12. 2. We should readily accept the truth whenever we find it. Verses 13 through 14. 3. If we agree with God, we will not misjudge anything. Verses 15 through 18. 4. Many questions arise simply because we are not fully following God. Verse 19. 5. If we are in God's hands and following his will, we need not fear what people might do to us. Verse 20. 6. We cannot know God except through Jesus, and we cannot come to God except through Jesus. 12:44 through 46. Golden text. I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. John 8:12. Today we have 3 lesson outlines. The first is the offer of light, John 8:12 through 16. The second is the offer of witnesses, John 8:17 through 20. And the third is the offer of escape from darkness, John 12:44 through 46. Introduction. Jesus pleased his Father in all ways, as we have seen this quarter, including in what he taught. The Lord taught the truth about himself and God in perfect love and perfect accuracy. In particular, the Gospel of John includes 7 significant I am statements by Jesus, which offer a great deal of insight into who he truly is and what he came to accomplish. Last week's text included the first of these statements, I am the bread of life, 6:35. The second of the statements is in the text for this week, I am the light of the world, 8:12. The others are, I am the door, 10:7. I am the good shepherd, verse 11. I am the resurrection and the life, 11:25. I am the way, the truth, and the life, 14:6. And I am the true vine, 15:1. Jesus gives light to a dark world. The offer of light, John 8:12. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Verse 13. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, Thou bearest record of thyself, thy record is not true. Verse 14. Jesus answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. For I know whence I came and whither I go, but ye cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. Verse 15. Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. Verse 19. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. Jesus' claim, John 8:12. Life involves conflict between God, who is good, and evil powers. Evil is darkness, shutting out opportunity to see or know good. God is the source of light, which exposes evil for what it is. Jesus is the light in person, exposing the evil of the world and pointing the way to God. We live in a world under Satan's sway. John 14:30, 2 Corinthians 4:4, Ephesians 2:2. Though it is under the ultimate control of God, evil is prevalent everywhere on this globe. As the description above states, evil is darkness. We live in a dark world. In many nations, the darkness is so great that it is dangerous for Christians to be present, for the focus of evil prevail and control the thinking of the people. The United States can no longer rightly be thought of as a predominantly Christian nation, because living by the principles of God's word is no longer foremost in the minds of most people. In fact, God's truth is being opposed with increasing venomous and hostility in much of our society. There is only one hope for dispelling this darkness. It is found in the person of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. He boldly declared, "I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." John 8:12. Jesus was not claiming to be the light, but the light, which was a claim of deity. It is likely that Jesus was still at the Feast of Tabernacles 7:2, during which he had used the water-drawing ritual to declare himself to be the first one who could quench spiritual thirst. During this feast, large lamps were lit, and the people held festive dances of celebration. Jesus used this ritual to declare himself to be the light of the entire world, not just the local area. Jesus exposes sin, dispels darkness, and shines into the world through his children. The forces of darkness cannot stand against the light. Jesus' knowledge, John 8:13-14. As usual, the Pharisees challenged Jesus immediately, this time with the accusation that all he had for validating his statement was a false self-witness. Their implication was clearly that they were not about to accept his claim with nothing more than that to consider. If there was no supporting testimony, they claimed that they could rightly dismiss his words. It was commonly thought that every person was a liar and therefore needed to have his words verified through at least one other person. Jesus' response was that he could bear witness to himself because his words were always the truth. He was not a liar as they assumed. In addition, he knew where he had come from and where he was going. They knew nothing about this. While this might have sounded like very good evidence to his critics, we understand that he was challenging them with facts that they should have known about their Messiah but did not. If they would listen carefully to his words and observe his works, they would recognize him. Jesus' origin was heaven and his Father. He would return to his Father in due time, so he understood his destiny. There are times when an individual is only one who knows the entire truth about a matter. No one else has the facts he does. This is why some of our court cases are so difficult to resolve. Jesus was a true witness because of his comprehensive knowledge about his origin and destiny. Even though the Pharisees thought they knew much about him, they were actually woefully lacking in knowledge. It was not Jesus' fault that they could not recognize who he was. The truth had been present adequately. Nor is it God's fault when a person dies and faces eternity separated from him. The truth can only be known when a person chooses to ignore it. He will be held responsible when he faces God on Judgment Day. Jesus' judgment, John 8:15-16. After God rejected Saul as king of Israel, he sent Samuel to the home of Jesse to anoint a new king. Jesse had 8 sons. When Eliab, the firstborn, stepped before Samuel, Samuel concluded that he was probably looking at the next king of Israel. Probably because Eliab was tall and good looking, God spoke immediately, however, and instructed the prophet about his ways. The Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. So it is with judgment. Jesus said the Pharisees judged according to the flesh, that is, by what they could see and hear only. They looked at external things and judged by human standards and judged with no concept of how God views things. Isaiah wrote concerning the coming Messiah, "And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins." Isaiah 11:35. Jesus said that he would not judge the way they did. "I judge no man," John 8:15. But that when the time came for him to judge, his judgment would be true. The reason was that he would not judge alone. He would be joined by his Father, in whose presence he constantly remained in. It is important that we realize we cannot fool God by the way we live. Unbelievers who stand before him will have no way of excusing themselves for not belonging to him. They will have no excuses for failing to be obedient to him. He will judge by what he has seen in the heart, not just by our actions. The offer of witness, verse 17. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true, verse 18. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me beareth witness of me, verse 19. Then said they unto him, Where is thy Father? Jesus answered, Ye neither know me nor my Father. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. Verse 20. These words spake Jesus in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. Bearing testimony, John 8:17-18. The Mosaic law stated, At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. Deuteronomy 17:6. This was also true of other matters. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth at the mouth of two witnesses or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. 19:15. The Pharisees tried to apply this principle to Jesus. They were also mockingly reminding him of what he had said on an earlier occasion. If I bear witness of myself, myself is not true. John 5:31. At that time, of course, he had explained what he meant, but the Pharisees ignored that. So now Jesus proceeded to point out that the law did require two witnesses for validating truth, and that he did indeed have two witnesses. He bore witness regarding himself, and the Father who sent him also testified for him. John's gospel had already established the fact that John the Baptist had come as a witness for Jesus. 1:7, 5:33. The Samaritan woman who said, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did, is not this the Christ? 4:29. Jesus had also explained that his Father was a witness for him. 5:32-37. He had pointed out that his works testified for him, verse 36. Beyond all these, the Old Testament spoke of him, verses 39-40. There had already been plenty of proof regarding Jesus, but the Pharisees refused to acknowledge it. Sadly, this same type of refusal often occurs today when people are presented with the truth about Christ. The coldness in many hearts and the blindness of many eyes keep people from acknowledging what is obviously the truth about him. knowing God, John 8:19 through 20. If Jesus was going to claim his Father as his witness, the Pharisees wanted to know where he was. They would like to interview him. They were thinking as usual in human terms only, so they asked about his earthly father. Since they had rejected Jesus' message and claims of deity, they could not understand how God could be Jesus' father. Jesus replied that the question itself revealed their ignorance. They did not know him or his Father. If they had known him, they would have known his Father too. All of this was taking place in a very public place, referred to as the treasury, verse 20. This was part of the court of women, a courtyard in the precepts of the temple where women were allowed. Considering the intensity of opposition, it would seem that people must have been present who were eager to arrest Jesus and get rid of him. John explained that even though this was the case, no one laid hands on him simply because his hour was not yet come. The implication is that they were ready to act but were divinely restrained from doing so. The Greek word translated laid hands on, piazo, meaning to take hold of or seize. It could refer to a neutral action, as in taking someone's hand, but more commonly used in hunting concepts, as in catching fish, or in the official sense of arresting or taking someone into custody. We know that the Pharisees wanted to arrest Jesus and have him under their control, but God's plan was not at the point when this was meant to occur. It is good to be reminded that God is in control of every situation. The offer of escape from darkness, John 12:44. Jesus cried and said, "He that believeth on me, believeth not on me, but on him that sent me." Verse 45. And he that seeth me, seeth him that sent me. Verse 46. I am come a light into the world, that whosoever believeth on me should not abide in darkness. Believing in God, John 12:44 through 45. It was now the final week of Jesus' life. He had already made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem, verses 12 through 15. He had announced that the light was going to be with him for only a short time more, after which they needed to be certain they walked in light and not in darkness, verse 35. John reported that even though Jesus had given many evidence of who he was, many people still not believe in him, verse 37. Many others did believe, however, including some of the rulers, verse 42. At some point, Jesus evidently called out loudly so that everyone in the vicinity could hear clearly. His opening words were, "He that believeth on me, believeth not on me, but on him that sent me. And he that seeth me, seeth him that sent me," verses 44 through 45. He was assuring the people that anyone who believed in him was at the same time believing in God, his Father. Anyone who sees Jesus for who he really is also sees God and is really God. Jesus was claiming to be the visible manifestation of God. Later, Jesus said to Philip, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me? Philip, have thy not? He that hath seen me have seen the Father, and how sayest thou then, showeth us the Father? Chapter 14, verse 9. Jesus clearly claimed to be God, as much as he was the promised Messiah for whom Israel had been waiting. They needed to believe, that is, have faith in him. They had to entrust their entire spiritual well-being to him if they were ever to be in heaven with God. So it is with us. Our eternal destiny depends on what we do about Jesus Christ, who came to earth and died for us. Your spiritual well-being must be entrusted to him. He is waiting to be your Savior, now if you have ever received him. Living in light, John 12:46. The emphasis on this lesson has been on Jesus as the light of the world. We have noted that the presence of evil throughout the world causes the world to be in darkness. We have also noted that Jesus repeatedly referred to himself as the source of spiritual light in this dark world. Once again, he made his claim. He came as a light into the world, and whoever believes in him will not walk in darkness. It is a matter of having spiritual understanding as opposed to being ignorant of God's ways. The Apostle Paul explained it this way, "But as it is written, I have not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. For what man knoweth the things of man, save the Spirit of man which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man but the Spirit of God." 1 Corinthians 2, 9 through 11. It is sometimes difficult for believers to comprehend the reality of their lack of spiritual understanding. Many think they have insight into spirituality, but their knowledge is false. That is why it is important to emphasize the most important matter first. Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ in order to be saved, Acts 16:31. There is no other requirement. Once this decision has been made, the pathway to spiritual understanding and learning to live in the light has begun. Questions. 1. Why is there so much darkness in the world, and what is our hope? 2. Why did the Pharisees challenge Jesus' self-witness? 3. Why did Jesus speak of where he came from and where he was going? 4. How did Jesus say his judgment would differ from that of the Pharisees? 5. What Old Testament basis of testimony did the Pharisees use against Jesus? 6. How did Jesus respond? 7. What did Jesus mean when he said that they knew neither him nor his Father? 8. Why was no one able to comprehend Jesus? 9. What did Jesus mean when he said that whoever believes in him would not walk in darkness? 10. What must happen before people can understand true spirituality? This concludes the Sunday School lesson for Sunday, April 30th, 2023. Thank you for listening. God bless.